So gaudy stats. Good God, that's gaudy.
I don't know if you will remember. I'm sure like all of our legions of loyal, devoted fans can reference this. But 3 years ago, when he was a freshman at Oklahoma, we had a discussion about him for like an extended discussion. And I hyped him up pretty good in that discussion, as I recall. But the thing about that forecast was, I don't know, from all the time, everything I read and all the times I watched him in his first 2.5 or even 3 years, I don't know that he was quite living up to the way that I thought he could be as a freshman in college initially with the Hawks. And I just say that because, I know one of the knocks on him was he had kind of low field goal percentages at times. He wasn't like, by the numbers, he's like a 32, 33, 34% three-point shooter. Like he gets compared to Steph so much, but you look at the numbers and it's like, well, the numbers statistically in terms of being Steph, maybe not quite there.
And that takes him out of the Nash comp too, because Nash was always
exactly
a great shooter.
For sure.
He's not really a great shooter.
Yeah. And I think what this postseason has really kind of clarified, though, is that this is a player who, and I mean, I know this is just like such a cliche, but it's just like in these spotlight games, this dude is not afraid. And it looks like he should be afraid because he looks like he weighs about 125 pounds and could just get thrown around like a rag doll. Which is a separate thing that I do want to talk about in a minute, because I do feel like these 90s NBA guys. Yeah,
ragdollism. It's a good topic of conversation.
Yeah, well, I mean, like these 90s NBA guys have to be feeling like, if that guy gets in the lane and like Charles Oakley or Anthony Mason or PJ Brown is there, they would just beat the hell out of this guy. And I'm surprised that I feel like one of these times, especially if he gets switched onto Tucker, if he gets into the lane and the interior defenders have to make the decision about whether to go to him or to let him shoot, right? Because the thing he would do so well last night and against Philly is if he draws that defense in, then Capella and John Collins are just there for these lobs. But I do feel like you've got a PJ Tucker forearm coming right to Trae's chest. Chin. Yeah. And then like one of these like sort of hands up, like, what'd I do? Come on. Right. But no, I mean, what Trae has done this postseason has been, nothing short of revelatory to me, because he does look like against the Knicks. It's like, all right, well, the Knicks are like a semi-professional organization. They've been in the playoffs in like 8 years or whatever. So you do it against the Knicks, whatever. Julius Randle doesn't seem built for the playoffs, blah, blah, blah. Philly, particularly on the road and particularly like in Game 5, and then even when he was at home in Atlanta there, he really just starts playing against this team that won whatever it was, 50 plus games in this regular season. And you see a guy where it's like, oh, wait, this is the most locked in, reliable player on the court on either team right now. And when he starts to do that against Philly, and then when he comes in last night and does it at Milwaukee, again, in a very hostile environment, I think that really shows that this is a guy who, those stats as a backcourt player are not going to be on par with Curry. And they're not going to be on par even necessarily with someone like Nash or like Lillard, I would say right now. But at the same time, I'm thinking, all right, he's the same age that Steph was in 2010. He's the same age that Steve Nash was in 1996. So you would think there would be a lot of room to grow. And, at the same time, like what he already is just like way exceeded, especially with the beginning of his career and how he gets tied fairly or unfairly to the Doncic trade, the Luka trade.
Yeah.
What he has sort of become in this 2021 postseason has really kind of, I think, recalibrated my thinking on what his ceiling can be as a player.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. As you were talking, I was glancing over his stats, and like he's really honestly the kind of player that I don't normally like that much because of his inefficiency. Like he was 43%, 43.8% from the field this year and 34% from three. And even last night, he was jacking up lots of threes and he's missing a lot of them. I think he was like, what was he? Um, I think he took 11, he took 13 threes and hit four of them. So
Yeah.
it's 30.8%. I just did the calculations in my head. I was not looking at the website at all. Um, no, yeah, man, he's kind of tough to figure out because he is there's shades of Harden, like the high usage, and like not always great percentages and kind of like isolating at the top of the key and taking long threes. But I think it's like his passing, I think, is a little underrated now. And that's something you hit on hard when we talked. You were like, this guy is like an amazing passer. Like he is otherworldly. And I think he is. And I think it's not talked about as much. And I think also what you said, talking about how, he's pretty young, it's early days when you compare his career to like what was Nash doing? I think Nash was like backing up KJ and Jason Kidd at that point, like in his
frosted
career.
tips.
Mr. Frosty Tips.
Mhm.
And Trae is like fucking just scored 48, just dropped 48 on the Bucks in their house and beat them in game one.
Yep.
I saw that he's third all time in Hawks history with points in a playoff game behind Bob Pettit. I said Petit, Bob Pettit and Neek, So it's just like, I mean, it's just insane. Like like the crazy numbers he put up early, like in his rookie year and the second year, some people were like, oh, that's just stupid. That's just that's just the system they run. And it's all, revolving around him. And yeah, some of that was true, but this just goes to show that he can do it in a playoff setting. I mean, he can do it when the defense is all keyed up on him. And let's be honest, he can do it with some style, doing these shimmies, talking that shit.
Talking a lot of shit.
And it's going to come back and bite him in the ass one of these days. But right now, he's like, he was on fire in the third quarter. Like he did a little shimmy and hit that three. And then he was really feeling himself. And you're right. One of these days, some big galoot is just going to take their forearm and just put it right in his throat, and like knock him out for a little while. And speaking of which, it's been talked about before, but I wish somebody would do that to Harden one of these days, because Harden just, like, as we've talked about, shoves his beard in people's faces, gets all up in your business in the lane, and just keeps doing it. Oh, and just throws his like considerable weight into you over and over again, and people just take it over and over again. Like, when is somebody gonna like knock that guy to the ground?
Right.
I sound like I'm 45 years old right now.
Yeah.
But
or
50 years old, I should say.
We don't like. Well, yeah, but we don't like Harden's game, and I think that's well established.
Who does? Who does like Harden's game?
I don't know. That's
his mom. Like
maybe his mother and his family. Yeah, probably a number of. There's a number of
Nets fans now.
I was gonna say a number of gentlemen's clubs around the country where he supports them like single-handedly, and they probably they have no choice but to like side with Harden.
Dropping honey buns left and right.
Yeah, exactly. But so I do think that Trae Young. Tell me what you think of this. Trae Young. It's like watching. He's got, like, to me, this is kind of a random.
Is he better than Campaign though?
That's a good question. But Trae Young, he's got like Deshaun Jackson's body. Like, it's like Deshaun Jackson playing basketball. And there is something exciting about like someone like that, where Harden, I do think you're right with the usage and like the dribbling. But there's just something, and it's the same with Steph, by the way. There's just something with the way that Steph and Trae play, and even someone like Lillard. And I don't know if it's like a smaller guard thing, but it's just not as fun with Harden. Like, it's just fucking boring with him. And maybe it's because he's kind of like thicker and he just doesn't have. There's not a lot of just like really exciting, kind of spontaneous play the way that there is with these other guys. But
The only
yeah,
thing I like with Harden is when he like dribbles it through his legs like a million times, like he's like a machine. And he just like does it over and over and over again,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then he goes straight to the rim. I kind of like that, but
yeah,
usually he gets fouled right after that, or he
yeah.
steps back for a three, and
Right.
it's just like
Well,
there's it's either a layup or it's a three. Like aesthetically, it's not as
no,
enjoyable as what
exactly.
Trae does, you know.
And Harden does have a step back that I think is really good, but he also does that shit where like, and he did it in the Buck series where he'll kick his legs out, and one of them he like was on the wing and he fell over. I think it was game 5, the game that he came back for. The KD was unbelievable. Like he kicked his legs out and just started falling, and he did it right in front of the ref, and the ref was just like, get up, right? Like you didn't get
Yeah.
fouled, you
You're gonna
know?
hurt your other hamstring if you keep
Yeah,
doing that.
exactly. But anyway, no, we don't. The less we talk about Harden here, maybe the better off. But
I agree. I
no one will
agree.
miss him, right? Goodbye, James. We will miss you, KD. You're great. But
And I
like,
just want to say one more thing about the bearded one
yes, please.
is and this was pretty predictable, but he made it a point to talk about his hamstring, how it was like a grade 2, it was a grade 2 sprain or something like that. I'm sure it was bad, but like this guy, how many times have we seen him? I don't want to sound too sports talky, but how many times have we seen him at the end of like a disappointing playoff run, like making some kind of excuse, like just it's just,
No.
and he sounded so enthusiastic too. He's just like, yeah, it was really bad. Yeah, my hamstring. Hey guys, my hamstring was hurt. It was hurt. It was like, it's just like, okay, we know what was hurt, man. Like thou dost protest too much. Like you're just talking about it like so enthusiastically and like trying, like, did I mention my hamstring? My hamstring.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, okay, shut the fuck up.
I see. I think you should turn the dial up even more on the sports talk, like in the Kempless mode, right? You get a James Harden. This is a guy. I mean, a James Harden. You get a franchise player. You got to come to play. You got to come to play.
Very generic. Just
yeah. Then 8 seconds of pause, like Jim Rowe.
I like those pauses though, like Colin Cowherd.
Yeah, he loves.
He'll be like, I was walking outside of my beach house the other day.
And he does the like.
There's like 5-second pause.
Yeah.
Like, did I lose connection there?
Huh.
And I thought that he'll just like come out of nowhere and like, whoa, did not see that coming.
I haven't thought about Colin Cowherd in a while. He's still, what is he? He's on some Fox or some shit.
He's on Fox Sports. Yeah.
But no.
Let's talk about Huerter. I mean,
yeah. Oh yeah. Transition to Red Velvet. Rick Astley.
Is that his nickname?
That's his nickname.
If it is, that's
Velvet.
incredible.
Red Velvet.
Do you think they should trade Trae Young and John Collins and build around Huerter?
Listen, I think that the entire arc of the process in Philly and all of the sort of overwrought takes and all of the agony and the ecstasy and the will this work, is this good for the game? How many blogs, how many podcasts can we create on the Sixers and on Sam Hinkie? Is Sam Hinkie a genius? Is he a dumbass? All of that to then crescendo into getting absolutely fucking rocked by a Michael Cera lookalike was just incredible. God. Right? I mean, that step back he pulled on Tobias Harris, like legit bucket, right?
Dude, he had the whole bag emptied out, and he's a fun guy to watch because he's, what is he, like 6'7", 6'8"? I mean, he's kind of tall, and he's got a nice stroke. I mean, during the regular season, I was looking it up earlier, he was like 36%. In the playoffs, he's 38%. So he's like, he's upped his game slightly, same amount of points, but I think in a larger role, he could put up more stats, but in the role he's in with Atlanta, he's kind of called upon to be a part-time ball handler and, hit some threes and, but yeah, I really was enjoying his in-between game. And like, yeah,
Sure.
Trae was like, I mean, I got the stats, I think here.
Yeah,
Trae was really bad that game. And he was 5 for 23.
Yeah.
And Huerter
incredible passer though, like you said. I mean, he was finding like Capella and Collins underneath with that left-handed pass. And I really was impressed with, again, overly sports talky, I guess, but like I was impressed with the way that Trae affected the game even when he was not shooting well. He was still finding ways to like get guys baskets. But yeah, Huerter for sure. First round pick out of Maryland, actually in the first round in the same year as Trae, which is interesting. But like strong to me, like Mike Miller vibes a little bit. Early Mike Miller.
Yeah, man.
And Doc was putting Seth Curry on him, who was giving up, 4 or 5 inches, and Huerter was just shooting right over him. And then he put Tobias Harris on him. And he was, Tobias Harris is at least that tall, maybe even taller than Huerter. And Huerter was scoring on him too. So
it's a little too quick for him.
Yeah, sure. And like that was the only dude offensively who really sort of came to play, it seemed like, in that game. And I think as we kind of transition to this series, I thought the quality of the actual game in Game 7 in Philly, Atlanta was pretty bad. Like I thought that fourth quarter was just like absolutely unwatchable. And especially when you compare it to the quality of a lot of that Game 7 in the Bucks Nets, I just thought it was like watching two different sports at times. And I think as a result, I was like, well, okay, the Bucks are coming in here then with a pretty clear advantage with home court and playing the Hawks, who they surely much rather would have seen than Philly. And, I think I'm like constantly having to kind of revamp and revise my expectations for the Hawks because I didn't think they'd beat Philly. And I still think the Bucks are going to win because I just think personnel-wise, I think like there's some things last night where I think Atlanta really like was probably a little bit.
Dude, it was frustrating to watch because the Bucks had so many chances to kind of put it out of reach, in the last like 5 minutes, and they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Finish your point though.
Well, I was gonna say credit to Capella for Capella. I thought did a really admirable. I mean, you look at Giannis's line, and it's like, well, he rounded up whatever 34, 12, and 9, so he was great as usual. But like Capella really did a nice job, all things considered. 19 rebounds.
Yeah,
that front court. He and Collins
had a lot of rebounds too, right?
Tons of rebounds, very impressive. But yeah, I mean, I guess my broader point there was, along with Huerter and along with Trae, I think that I'm having to consider now that the Atlanta fucking Hawks, right? I went to school in Atlanta, lived there for 7 years. They were a punchline when I was there, right? That they could make the NBA Finals. I mean, it is in play now. And, my question was always, even when they were playing Philly, like, okay, who's the second best player on Atlanta? Well, probably you would say Collins. And it's like, can an NBA Finals team have John Collins as its second best player? And my initial answer to that, I think, Ben, was no. And after watching last night, again, if you're telling me to bet everything on one or the other team, I'm still taking Milwaukee in the series. But Atlanta has an advantage now, having taken home court, and I think it should be a very interesting series to see play out, just because Atlanta can constantly kind of overachieve in ways that I didn't think that they could.
Yeah, no, it's well said. I think that during the regular season, like when Bogdanovich came back, I think he was their number 2 guy, but he's been hurt recently. And yeah, they kind of have this collection of second tier guys behind Trae Young. And it's like, who is like their second option, and Collins had like one of his, I mean, if you would be like, okay, what do we need from John Collins? Like, what's the best possible game he can give us? Mm-hmm. Basically last night was it, like hitting threes, blocking shots, or like contesting shots, at least getting lots of rebounds. Like as you said, him and Capella were just crashing the boards, man. Like Capella had a great game. He kind of was held in check, and like his effectiveness was stymied quite a bit against Embiid, just having to guard him and everything. But yeah, like 19 rebounds, man. Like that's and like the Bucks should be super disappointed in that result last night. I mean, that was, as we said, like they had so many chances to put him away. But yeah, man, it's Trae Young's peskiness. Like he's just this pesky little guy who's just, as we said, talking shit and getting like under the skin of the other team. And like, yeah, the game against Philadelphia, where he was like 5 for
23, wasn't he?
5 for 23.
Yeah.
He was still a +7, like he's, as you said, does a lot of things that, kind of holds the team together. And I was really impressed, although I was kind of disappointed. I'm not going to lie, because, Giannis, this is a golden opportunity. As you highlighted earlier, there's no like juggernaut that is there to meet Giannis, like in the Bucks. Like this is a golden opportunity. Mm-hmm. Their players are all healthy except for DiVincenzo, and they wasted a incredible game from Jrue Holiday. Like he is one of the streakiest guys. If you follow him like during the season, like he'll have like 3 games in a row, 30 points, and he's shooting like 60% from 3. His stroke, I don't know what it is about his stroke, but like when he gets like, when he starts hitting and he gets hot, he can like, he'll just explode, but then he completely disappears like he did during most of the Nets series. So that was unfortunate. And then Middleton inexplicably doesn't show up. So yeah, man, like I'm a little concerned, they dropped that first game. If I were like you said, like now it's a little bit opening the door for the Hawks to advance. I mean, it would not be the most surprising thing.
Yeah. And I mean, I still cannot believe. I was thinking about this. I'd be interested. I'm putting you on the spot here, but I'd be interested to get your answer on this.
Oh yeah, put me on the spot.
Because I agree. I agree with you about the fact that really the catalyst for Milwaukee winning this series were the injuries, and like I wouldn't say that the wrong team won, because Milwaukee went in there and played their asses off in Game 7, and they put in a performance that I frankly did not think they had in them.
I agree.
But I also kind of feel like walking away from that, and it hit me last night when like I turned the game on, like, oh shit, the Bucks are still in. They won that series, and I don't know that I've ever been like less impressed by a team who won a series, and almost feel like the wrong team won in a sense. And the last time, I feel like, and this maybe is lazy, because I'm not going year by year here, but the first thought I had in terms of walking away from a series and feeling like the better team did not win that series in all likelihood, the last time I felt that strongly about it was probably the 2002 Western Conference Finals, Lakers versus Kings, where I felt like the Kings were a better team. Now, we don't need to revisit all the referee jackassery.
I love that Kings team.
Yeah, they were great. They were great. And, they got fucked. They would have easily beaten the Nets in the finals, would have won the title.
Oh, yeah.
But certainly I think you can make the argument, all right, well, the 73-9 Warriors, probably a better team, definitely a better team than LeBron's Cavs. But, also LeBron and Kyrie stepped up to a point, so I'm not like, well, and then Draymond suspended. So I don't leave that being like, well, the Warriors definitely should have won, though I would have probably said they're probably a better team. And this one, I was just like, I don't know who's watching this outside of like the Milwaukee area codes should walk away from this and being like, oh, well, the Bucks are just better. Because, even their wins, Ben, like I don't mean to make this shitting on Milwaukee, but like even their wins, I just like they were just like staggering to the finish line in ways that was just so not convincing. Like they
Yeah.
barely won game 3, even though Giannis played well and Durant was terrible. They won game 3 by 3 points, I think. And if they go down 3-0, then it's probably done. They're not winning 4 in a row. And they were pretty good in game 4. They totally gagged game 5. They were good in game 6, I'll give. Game 6, I think, was the most impressive game I saw of them. And game 7, like Giannis played his ass off, but Middleton and Drew Holiday did not really show up until the fourth quarter and in overtime. Now they did hit some big shots then, but I just came away from that, even sitting there on Saturday night after the end of the game, kind of in shock that the Bucks had actually pulled that off. And normally I would say that and like, oh wow, it's such a credit to them. But I kind of was like, I just can't believe that Budenholzer, and that team is like still, because I feel like every would you agree with this? Every performance, especially when you talk about the first 2 games and the coaching and some of Giannis's reluctance to be more of an alpha offensively, though again, that's I think overblown, and I think he's actually making good decisions in a lot of cases. I think in so many times when I've seen all of that play out in an NBA series, like 95, 98% of the time since I started following, that team loses the series, right? That team never has those things that people are just talking about and that are swirling around and then wins anyway. And so the fact that they won, I think, goes back to what we talked about here at the outset, which is this is a fucking weird postseason. And you don't really know what's going to happen because the classic NBA thing to have happened based on those first 2 routes in Brooklyn was Nets win in 5 or Nets win in 6. And then, frankly, I think the Nets would have pasted Philly and probably coasted to the title. But so the fact that Milwaukee was able to do that, I'm still kind of in shock that they're actually there.
Yeah, no, I am too, man. Like, but on the flip side of that, I think it was like a couple of years ago, they had like one of the best offenses in the league, and like they had a great offense this year, and like they can blow teams out as evidenced by the Heat. But you're damn right about how they kind of barely, that game 3 win was just by the hair, of I was gonna say hair of the dog, but that doesn't really work.
Hair of their chinny chin chins.
Hair of their chinny chin chin. Mixing around different phrases. But they're lucky, they're very lucky. But yeah, I felt so great for Giannis. I mean, I was excited to see him advance, but yeah, if you, like you mentioned, are they really more talented than the Hawks? I mean, that doesn't really seem like it. It seems like they're pretty even in talent. Now, Giannis, as he was doing at the end of the last game, he does, his mid-range game is starting to look kind of nice, and he got a little hot there, and then they went away from him strangely, and then he went a little cold, and I don't know, they kind of froze at the end. They kind of, I'm not gonna say choked, but they just didn't. It seemed like they were like, okay, we're gonna win the game. Let's just hold them off, and then before they knew it, they were behind and they lost. But that's why I said earlier, like, come on, Bucks. I mean, this is your chance. Like, Giannis, like, there's never been, in my view, a title that's been more like,
there.
I guess I'm gonna say easy. I don't want to say easy to grab, but it's like it's within Giannis's grasp, And who knows what the hell next year is going to look like? The Warriors got I think they're in the top 7, and they could ship that with Wiseman, maybe get another piece, or like, they could be in the mix. The Suns will probably be back in the mix. The Lakers are definitely going to be back in the mix.
Nets, Nets are going to be probably healthier.
Yeah, the Nets are going to be healthy. It's like Giannis needs to realize he needs to sit down and formulate in his mind how to take over the next 4 games with his transformer like body and just demolish this Hawks team, just become the Greek god that he is.
Yeah.
Because he can physically and emotionally take over the series. I really believe that. Like, he just has to become he has to become a beast. He has
Yeah.
to like get in people's faces, be a little bit more of an asshole. I mean, it's kind of against his nature, but I feel like he can intimidate the Hawks more than he is.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of need that against Trae a little bit. It's against his nature. And I like Giannis as a person, but I feel like he's going to need to have kind of a mean streak here and there in this series to, and it sounds crazy to say. It's like little 6'1" Trae, but like, they're a tough team. I feel like they're tough. I mean, they stood up to the 76ers, and you might be like, come on,
dude,
man.
they are tough.
76ers are kind of like fake tough at this point.
Yeah. We don't need
but and we should talk about Ben Simmons, the other Ben Simmons, because I mean, it's been talked about ad nauseum.
The lesser Ben Simmons.
Wow, dude. Thanks for that.
I said it. I said it. Yeah, I said it.
I think I could hit
Ben Simmons. I know other Ben Simmons. I know you're listening.
Yeah, I know you're listening. When I said that he had stole my name, I'm sure that really hurt his feelings.
Well, here's the thing. I want to tell the listeners this, and I think a lot of our listeners do know this, but to the extent we have either you don't. This man who's on the other microphone here, this man, you, sir, I mean you, Gaudy Stats host Ben Simmons, this man can play. This man can ball. He's got a nice smooth jumper. I am not joking when I say dude. I would have trusted your shot making ability over 6'10" Ben there on Sunday night. But let's fish off.
I mean, my jumper is a little. That's very sweet of you to say.
Okay, but is it okay? But is it?
I think the best part of my game was probably.
Would you have tried to shoot? That's the first question.
See, I would have tried to shoot. I would have probably shot some bricks, but I would have tried to shoot. The thing with Ben Simmons, though, that I do believe, I don't want to get too deep into the Sixers talk, because I don't want to hurt Dan's already fragile psyche now that the Sixers have been so just abruptly discharged from the playoffs. That was just tough to watch. It was sad. It was kind of pathetic.
Brutal.
And I feel bad for him. But I do think I am in the camp where I think that Ben Simmons could be like a power forward / center, like point center kind of player,
Yeah.
I can envision that for him. I think he's got decent post up game.
Yeah.
And he can block shots. I mean, he could be a hell of a weapon, like running the break as a center and like just being like another ball handler with like, a good point guard who can shoot.
Yeah.
There has been chatter, like, can he accept that role, but like, yeah, just be the point center. And then when the main ball handler goes out, then you can be the ball handler. And it's just something that you throw at teams and like, they're like, what the fuck? Now the center is like handling the ball. And he's like, it's just kind of what Giannis was doing when he first started handling the ball. I was like, this 7-foot freak is out there running the break like a locomotive coming down the lane, on a fast break. Like, how can we stop this? Yeah. I think he could do that. But I will say, I've looked into his eyes, and I've seen a fear that I've never seen before in my life. It's a fear that I hope to never encounter myself. But when he sees that hoop, it's conjuring all sorts of demons and ghosts and monsters.
It really
and dragons. And I feel bad for him.
And I would say too, like, as much we share a mutual dislike of Shaq in the studio. I did think, though, what Shaq said after the game, I agreed with him, because he was saying, and I think it's a really important point and something that is just, I think, to me, particularly puzzling. And that was like, okay, if you can't shoot, you can't shoot. That's fine. Some guys just never learn to shoot. They're not good shooters, whatever. But at least be like aggressive and use the fact that you're 6'10" to your advantage. And I think that, when Trae is on the court as much as he is in that series, just by definition, if the Sixers are going Embiid, Tobias Harris, Ben, help me out here.
Seth Curry.
Yeah, Seth Curry
and
Thibault. Yeah.
Danny Green.
Sure. Whomever, right? They usually are going to have mostly a size advantage, I think. And Simmons is going to get matchups where if he can drive to the basket or he can kind of post guys up, those are makeable shots and ways to affect the game. We go back to Trae, right? Trae's not shooting well. He figures out other ways to affect the game.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seems like, when that guy can't score at all and he's not even willing to shoot, then you're putting Tobias Harris, who's a fine player, but I mean, my kind of like super, limited sample size take on that guy is if you're looking at like a championship or finals caliber team, I think that guy is a really good number 3, but I don't know if he's like a number 2. And when he's thrust into that role of number 2, when Ben Simmons is so unwilling to get involved offensively, I think that puts them at a disadvantage. And it obviously did. And all of this, what makes all of this so exasperating is the fact that he's 6'10", right? I mean, Ben Simmons is built like an all-world athlete. And the way that he becomes, just like you're saying, timid in these key spots is just not acceptable. I mean, it's like, again, not to sound too sports talky, but like, I just can't, like it's like the yips in golf or whatever. Like I could not believe, especially as it's been talked about, that dunk where he just passed up the dunk to like throw the ball to Thibault, who then makes one of 2 free throws.
Throw the ball to a guy who can't really shoot himself.
No, right. But is also in the league as like a guy who's supposed to do that other thing. Like, right. In other words, be like that defensive stopper type.
Exactly. Yeah. He's a great defender.
As the number 1 overall pick, like you're not in there to be Matisse Thybulle. And additionally, by the way, I would say too, like, good statistical game, but I came away from that game. I know he had meniscus issues. I came away from that game thinking, I don't know that I would want Joel Embiid to be the best guy on my team if I want to win a title. And like, I do think that he's a really good player, but it's just like when you compare him to some of the other like really elite superstars, I don't know, man. It just seems like at the end of the game, everybody always jokes with Embiid and with Jokic how they both just look so out of shape and they can just like barely get up and down the court, but then they start kicking your ass and you're like, well, okay, these guys will play. But in those big spots, Joel just kind of like lumbering around. It just really started.
Every year in the playoffs, he does this.
It takes him so long to get into his offense or into his move. And when you compare that to someone like Durant or Giannis or Trae or even someone like Devin Booker or Chris Paul in these playoffs, to me, it just stands out because it feels like a guy who is obviously incredibly talented, right? I'm not by no means am I saying that Joel Embiid is overrated, but I do think there are guys in the league who are elite, best players on their teams who aren't necessarily built to be the best player on a championship team. And I think there's still a lot to be written in his career, but that's kind of where I am with him right now. I think I want to see him. I mean, obviously part that goes back to Simmons and Simmons being so inept because you'd like to see if somebody else of like that caliber could carry some of the weight, what it would look like. But yeah, I mean, I just came away thinking like, if they don't get another legit offensive star in the mold of, even I heard it was tossed around like CJ McCollum. He's not a superstar, but he's a very good scoring guard.
He's really good though.
He's very good. Like if they don't get someone like that, I don't know why you wouldn't think that the Sixers would have the same issues because they struggle to score. They are a pretty good defensive team, but they also are kind of just what you looked at as should have been to me, what should have been or could have been size advantages versus the Hawks. They just came kind of across as like big and lumbering in ways that worked against them when the Hawks seemed a little smaller, a little quicker. John Collins, this like 6'7" or 6'8" guy who really plays big.
I like John Collins.
Was really like unafraid in that series in a way that I was unprepared to see him be. Gallo, who is very streaky. That guy, you talk about streaky players. But when Gallo is on,
the Mohawk,
Gallo can just roast guys.
I know.
And he had one move last night on PJ Tucker where he put him in the spin cycle, so to speak, and it was nasty. So yeah, I don't know. I think that Philly, you know, I walked away from that thinking Philly should be embarrassed. I can't believe they lost this series. And at the same time, it's no consolation, I'm sure, to Sixers fans, but the fact that the Hawks went in there last night and did what they did should, I guess, force us all outside of the 770 and the 404 area codes there in Atlanta to respect them a little more.
No, it's a good point. I mean, but as you said earlier, when you allow Red Velvet to drop 27 points on 10 of 18 shooting, on you in the game 7, I mean, and your defensive team, that's your calling card. It's a little bit embarrassing. I mean, again, we could be looking back in 10 years from now and be like, remember Huerter's coming out party? And now he's like, a 2-time All-Star and,
Sure.
An NBA a 3-point shooting champion. When, it's just like, these guys' careers are still pretty young. So who knows? But yeah, I love John Collins. I love his versatility. I've always liked he's kind of in the Barkley mold, except maybe a little bigger than Barkley. But I've always liked guys like that, like kind of, stoutly built hybrids.
Yeah.
Who can bang a little bit and get outside. I mean, Barkley couldn't hit the broad side of a barn. And Collins can shoot better than him. Well, shooting has just gotten better in general. But, he can soar, throw down some vicious dunks. His putbacks, just dunking on the face of Brooke Lopez, And as you said in our text exchange, old Tin Man himself, Brooke Lopez, with those stiff joints, he's going to have to put some WD-40 on those joints and start get cranking, because that guy is after having a great Game 7 performance against the Nets, in which he did have that boneheaded play where he passed it to Drew Holiday or somebody when there was two seconds on the clock and he had to shoot it. Besides that, he had 4 blocks and bunch of and some 8 rebounds, 19 points, something like that. He was blocking the hell out of the ball in that Nets series, and so I don't know what they're going to do with him. I don't know what's wrong with Coach Bud, why he does not want to put Giannis at the 5. Just unleash Giannis at the 5, put Bobby Portis in as a power forward, because Bobby Portis was playing great. He's streaky too. Yeah. His outside shooting, but get that guy, put him in the corner or put him in, he can stretch the floor. Yeah. Have him and have Giannis be your 5. And Clint Capella cannot stay in front of Giannis.
No, he can't.
Multiple times in the game.
He did okay last night, but he more often than not, he will not.
Oh, yeah.
I agree.
Oh, he played great. Taking nothing away from Clint, because I know he listens. Clint, taking nothing away from you, sir.
Another Euro player, by the way, who we love. We love the Euro.
Yeah.
Greek guy, Swiss guy, Italian guy.
Yeah, I love Clint's style. I'm a fan of his. And he can be a hell of a DFS player as well. I mean, or a fantasy player, because he can get a lot of blocks, a lot of rebounds, and can affect the game in a lot of different ways. And it was a good pickup by them. Some under the radar pickups, some pickups by Schlenk, their GM, who you first looked at it and you're like, really? Gallo 4 for 80? Is that really a good? Maybe it's still a bad contract, but I mean,
he hit some clutch shots though, for sure.
Yeah, he's hit some really clutch shots, especially in the Philly series, and against the Bucks in Game 1. So I don't know where it's going to go, but before we run off, let's talk about the Suns a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
I want to ask you,
please.
What are your thoughts about that series and about Devin Booker? He had the good and the bad in Game 1 and Game 2. The Game 2 is honestly what I've seen the most of in his career as a Suns fan. And I'm not his biggest fan, but I'm starting, obviously, after Game 1, where he was incredible. It was a tour de force.
Yeah.
I'm starting to come around, strangely. what did you see from him? And where do you think the series is going?
Uh-huh.
Do you think the Suns have a commanding catbird seat?
Yeah.
Or do you think the Clippers are going to take game 3 and seize control the fucking series?
Yeah, that's good. That's good Casey Kasem vibes there. I like that. Uh, well, yeah, I mean, Booker getting to his spots in ways that was just incredibly impressive in game 1.
That mid-range game is fun to watch.
Definitely quieter. Did not help that he got like headbutted by Patrick Beverley there in game
Beverley,
2.
dude.
By the way, speaking of guys who would be, as
Fucking
much
hate
as
that
I
guy.
can't stand that guy, perfect person to put on Trae Young is someone like that. The Bucks need someone like that.
Dude, you're so right about that.
I would nominate Bobby Portis if Bobby Portis does get more time. If Trae gets into the lane, like another guy I would not fuck with, Bobby Portis. Yeah. He's punched at least one teammate.
Just
right?
ask Nikola Mirotic about Bobby Portis. Poor guy.
Exactly.
He like basically like scared him out of the league.
Yeah. Like had him drinking, like eating through a straw for a month or whatever.
Yeah, he's like he's like, oh, I'm gonna turn down like a 3-year, $55 million contract and go to like Europe, play for like a third of that.
Yeah, I prefer Belgrade to Chicago. Anyway, so I think that the Clippers can at least tell the lie to themselves, and I say lie just because there's an asterisk there, but they can at least tell themselves, and I'm sure they are telling themselves, well, we were down 2-0 to Dallas, we were down 2-0 to Utah. And of course, the big difference there is that Kawhi was in the lineup. It is hard for me to see a path back for them short of Kawhi returning. That being said, I do think both of these games.
And he's out game 3, by the way.
Yeah, tonight. Okay. Yeah. I do think both games in Phoenix were closer than maybe meets the. Well, I mean, we know the last one was close.
Could have lost either one, to be honest. I watched each game very closely. I'll be watching tonight's game very closely with a fucking monocle right up to the screen.
The Clippers, perfect. The Clippers almost stole game 2 because it really felt like the Suns were in control for much of that game. And yet, with the way those two games were in tandem, I felt like a split might have been fair. So the Suns, it's really in their advantage to go there with a 2-0 lead, obviously. Good analysis, Sam. 2-0 is better than 1-1. But
well, the Clippers, man, they like being down 2-0.
Yeah, that's
of course. But that was they don't have Kawhi,
right? So. Exactly. So we thrive on being down, right? Just kick us in the balls, please, and let us taste our own blood in our mouth or whatever.
It reminds me of a guy like you would see at a bar who's like super drunk, and I've been there before, obviously, but I wasn't like the guy who would be like, punch me in the face, punch me,
so I can feel something.
Yeah, exactly. You ever see those guys like outside of the bar? I've even had friends like that who've been like,
yeah,
punch me in the face, man. Like, fucking punch me in the face.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm not going to punch you in the face.
Yeah.
But continue.
Yeah, no.
That's the Clippers. Punch me in the face guy.
They can at least sort of try to convince themselves that it's a similar scenario. I think with CP back in, it's hard for me to see how the Clippers are going to win 4 out of 5 without Kawhi. And, they've gotten these really good offensive performances out of guys like Reggie Jackson, who has been
Reggie Jackson. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's solid. So good. Player. But I do think defensively, I'm a little surprised that the Clippers aren't better than they are when you look at some of those guys who are out there. Mm-hmm. I have no idea, and this was pointed out on Twitter, I have no idea what DeMarcus Cousins was doing on that lob. He was like, did you see the way he was positioned? He was like funneling the ball toward the basket when
that whole thing was so lucky. Like,
it was very
Paul
strange.
George missing both free throws, and then as you pointed out on our chat, like how it missed the backboard by like a couple millimeters or whatever.
An incredible pass by Jay Crowder. And also, frankly, and I'm not just saying this because you're a Suns fan, but like total bullshit call against Booker where he hit Beverly and they called an offensive foul retroactively. Just a horrible call. And a call that changed the game, by the way, because the Suns were up 3 when they had that go against them, right?
It felt like during that stretch, it honestly felt like they were reviewing every single play. Like, just imagine that. Like, somebody dribbles up, like, shoots a shot, and the guy rebounds. Like, oh, we have to review this.
Yeah.
Was there a foul? Did somebody bump him while it was just like every fucking thing.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't – it's not the most pleasant viewing experience. But please continue.
Yeah, I mean, it's awful. And, like, you know, a cynic could certainly look at that and be like, Scott Foster wants to keep the LA market in play here for the finals or something, right? Because LA was just they were getting a lot of calls. And as I mentioned, Phoenix, it felt like they had been in control of that game. Campaign with the game of his life.
Campaign.
Like, he was just like, it didn't matter who was on him. He was just getting to his spots.
Unstoppable.
That guy, by the way.
Except when he tried to win the game at the very end and he got swatted so hard. But besides that.
Not that as much. But speaking of trying to win the game, we didn't even talk about Pat Connaughton's airball last night. Like,
dude, that was so brutal. You know, I think Huerter now is the sole possessor of the leather diaper.
Yeah. Connaughton, by the way,
red velvet.
I don't know that. Like, I'm sure Budenholzer's like, well, our system means that anybody can take the shot, and it's like, okay, but like Connaughton versus Middleton or Drew Holiday, like I would have Middleton or Drew Holiday taking over.
No Brook Lopez. They were talking about on the broadcast, but like. Yeah. You had this enormous man.
Minus, by the way. Well, do you know what his plus minus was? Because it
was like -21.
Oh, was it? I thought I saw in the middle of the game that it was good. Maybe I misread it though.
I'll look it up now. But like Brook Lopez, he had for whatever, I don't know why.
Well, he had to go to the locker room to lube up his joints. Right? He had to put some oil.
Okay. Let's see. Brook Lopez, you son of a bitch. What did you do last night?
Shoulders.
Internet's very slow right now. What's going on? Okay, he was -14.
Okay. Never mind that. Right. So a reason
I thought he was worse than that, but
yeah. But not great. But
he only played 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So maybe there was more Giannis at center than I realized. But
right. Well, which,
doesn't change the fact that Coach Bud should not be employed by any team right now. He should take a little break.
Well, I still think Milwaukee, when they get the lineups they want, I still think they can bully Atlanta and get what they want.
Yeah.
And it puts an outsized amount of pressure on Capella and on Collins to do well. And if they keep doing what the efforts in the front court defensively and on the boards that they offered last night, then they can keep winning. My money is on them not doing that every night though. But with Phoenix though, campaign really impressed. Again, these prepare for old man take here, but like really impressive use of the glass. Like that dude, so many bank shots where he knows exactly where to put the ball.
And he's a great finisher.
And you think about all the guys, even as pros, who can't do that, or they just like miss those layups. And that dude, when he gets to his left hand and gets to his left, it didn't matter who was on him the other night. I mean, it was just an amazing performance. And, to consider that this guy was like out of the league and considered to be kind of a bust and is now back as like a key offensive contributor. Cause they're making the point on the telecast, Booker is there as offense. And when Paul is out, right? Because at one point there was, I think it was Van Gundy who was saying if Booker was on the bench and Payne was on the bench, the Suns have like no creators really with Paul out. And so it was awkward because it's like
Dario Saric.
Exactly. I mean, we both love Mikal Bridges, but not a guy who's like necessarily gonna.
Not yet. No, he's not there yet.
Not yet. Exactly. And so Payne just played such a pivotal role, kind of playing the Reggie Jackson role that the Clippers have. It's
a good comp.
Yeah, but like
except like 100 million times better. No, I'm joking. Reggie Jackson has been incredible.
I want to ask you as the Suns fan to kind of wrap up here. Like,
yes.
What I mean, a lot of ball left to play, Ben. A lot of ball left to play.
A lot of ball.
They are 2 wins from the NBA Finals. Now, this would be their first NBA Finals in 20 years. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
Deep
can
breath.
taste it.
My question to you is this. Like, here's the question.
Should Chris Paul not come back and just let him ride with campaign?
So not quite that hot takey, but like
I guess it was Skip Bayless
Monty Williams saw the way that not playing with him worked in those first two games. I mean, their offense was by and large pretty unbothered by LA. And you know, my I do think that the ball probably moved more uh, without CP in the lineup. So, like, obviously, Chris Paul's going to play a bunch of minutes tonight, but do you think that they should try and just offensively emulate that kind of more just like quick passing, lots of sharing the ball that they did in game one and game two when they were forced to with no CP in there? Or do they go back to that kind of closeout games against the Nuggets where he was running the show and just playing out of his mind? Like, what do you think would make more sense to do tonight in LA?
Well, as you said, keep CP trapped in a storage closet somewhere. And so that's my answer.
Uh-huh.
That's it. No, I'm joking. But I mean, they're gonna give CP the keys again. And I think the Suns are gonna probably lose this game because Clippers have their backs against the wall. They're at home.
Home crowd.
Marcus Morris is gonna hit some threes. He's been stone cold and also hurt the last couple stone cold in a bad way. And he's been hurt the last couple games. He's gonna probably get back on track. Reggie Jackson will probably hit a few more threes. Terrence Mann will probably explode again. I mean, something's gonna happen. They're gonna lose.
Yeah, all those mid-level players tend to play better at home in playoffs, right?
Exactly. And then Skip Bayless will come on the air tomorrow and be like, they shouldn't have played Chris Paul. He should, all this stuff. But there is something to what you said about the ball movement, and kind of like, the sum of the parts without Chris Paul, and like DeAndre Ayton last night, just kind of turning some heads. Like maybe he was the number one overall pick. The dominance, the little they ask him to do, but what he does do is so effective. He hit a couple little J's, but he doesn't really have that, as you pointed out, the Amari Stoudemire pick and roll, pick and pop yet. He doesn't have that jump shot yet. I think he will eventually. That's like the next step in his offensive game.
Yeah.
He can hit it occasionally, but he's not like automatic like Amari was, because he was deadly back in the day. But we'll see, man. I mean, they could mothball Chris until the fourth quarter and then bring him out if they need a closer, like Mariano Rivera, just, take him out of the storage closet.
Out of the bullpen.
Yeah. But, if he's had a COVID, he might be a little weird. He might be kind of like a little out of it. And, we'll see what happens. I mean, if they win this game, it's curtains for the series. And the fact that Kawhi is not coming back, it's not like, I really don't think he's coming back. It sounds like he has something similar to what Embiid had, like a slight tear, a sprain in his knee. I mean, he's has a history of being very careful with his body. He's dating back to San Antonio with the quad and like whatever the hell he had, not wanting to play and jeopardize himself, which, I'm not going to hate on him for that, but I just don't think he's going to come back. And so then there's no Calvary coming. There's no Superman coming. All you got is playoff P, fucking Marcus Morris. There's no one coming through that door, as Rick Pitino said. Fucking Zubac, who I like.
Zubac.
I like his tenacity. I like his defense, and I like his just exasperation whenever he gets called for a foul. It's like so over the top. It's just boy who cried Zubac. That's what I call him.
Jumping 3 inches to dunk.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see, man. As I said, I think that the Suns will lose because of the emotional, backs against the wall. And as you said, like, it's been a close close contests. The last couple of games have been close, man. I mean, they could have lost either one of those games. Cam Payne doesn't play as well on the road either, but the way Chris Paul has been playing, the way he's been closing some of these games, the methodical nature, the systematic, surgical nature of the Suns' offense, how they pick teams apart, grind them out, and frankly, the surprising defense. They have great perimeter defenders. That was something that was interesting. That was pointed out on a podcast. I think it was like Brian Windhorst's podcast, whatever the hell podcast he hosts.
Yeah,
they were talking about how you can't really compare Gobert to Ayton because Gobert doesn't have as good perimeter defenders. I mean, he doesn't have Miles Bridges or Cam Johnson or Jay Crowder. The Jazz just don't have as good of defenders. I'm not defending Gobert's, some would say horrendous performance in the closeout game when they shedded a 25-point lead. I'm not here to, I'm not here to do that. Okay.
But it did leave him more exposed.
Yeah. He was exposed out there. He had his pants down and the breeze was cold and it was embarrassing for him. But DeAndre Ayton, I'm very impressed and I'm excited, man. This is a great time for Planet Orange. This is a great time for the Suns. It bothers me that Nash isn't somehow involved or he's a coach of the Nets, so he can't, it'd be great if Nash was courtside, sitting there. Cause I saw some.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, Steve, come here.
Hey, Steve, your team isn't in it anymore. Why don't you come?
Yeah. He should come hang out, and, but since he went to LA, he's a little Hollywood now. He's kind of he got like a proper hair.
Yeah.
He got a proper haircut and everything. So now he's he thinks he's too cool for school. But anyways, but there were some funny t-shirts in the audience. Somebody had the Steve Nash shirt with his nose was busted.
Yeah.
He just had that picture.
Yeah.
They showed that.
We talked about the game last time, didn't we? Or two times, one of those times.
Yeah, I think we did. Probably multiple times.
Ayton, there was a sequence there late in the game in game 2 where huge rebound, huge defensive play, huge bucket. And I think one of the knocks on him coming out of Arizona, even though he was only there for a year, was that he did sort of need to be more assertive. And I wouldn't say that I don't think people were really calling him soft, but there were.
He needed to go to the school of Chris Paul.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there were scouts who said that. And, he's just under the basket. He's got great hands. It would be so easy to look at a player like that and assume he's got stone hands or even C+ or B-.
Yeah. Ye old Brandon Jacobs hands.
He's got great hands for that size. I mean, he's a really strong rebounder, and he's kept so many possessions alive for that team. And
you're right, man. He has a really soft touch.
Yeah, and it's
such a beast.
It's impressive, and in a weird kind of way, we mentioned how he's always going to be tied and linked with this pretty, this kind of cornerstone NBA draft in 2018, where he's the guy that the Suns took instead of Luka and Doncic and Trae Young. But I also think there's been so much attention on those. See, now I'm playing like armchair psychologist here, but I do think there's so much attention on those two guys that Ayton has been able to develop on his own, not in anonymity, but he's been able. The pressure is off of him, and he's well, I'm not going to be Luka, and I'm not going to be Trae, but if his team is still playing and he's got guys like Booker and Chris Paul on the team, and he can still give the team 24 and 12 or whatever it is he's giving them, that's a huge kind of thing. And we talked about on the last episode, and it's true here again, Jokic couldn't do anything with that guy when he got in deep. And, when they put Zubac or who else did they put? Sorry.
Boogie. Marcus Morris.
Yeah, any of those guys. I mean, Ayton can sort of get what he wants, and it's just been.
He's an enormous
really
human
impressive.
being.
Yeah,
which is something I don't think I realized. Cause I saw some of the games this year, but because I had League Pass, but I saw some of the games, but not like seeing him like next to Zubac and some other these other centers. Like he is just a huge man, and like you said, the soft touch is something that's so valuable in a big man. That's why I think he will get the jump shot. And I'd like to see a little sky hook too. If he could do that, that would be nice. Yeah. I would like to see the full repertoire. You know, if he was able to watch some old Kevin McHale and get some, some footwork down, back to the basket stuff,
Yeah.
Early 80s post moves, I would like to see that as well.
Knee pads, elbow pads.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm excited. We'll see what happens. But unfortunately, I got to call it quits for this pod. Yes, sir. It's been an absolute pleasure. An absolute pleasure. It's been a pressure to talk to you as always, and let's do it again soon. I'm enjoying these more frequent casts.
Yeah, good luck to Planet Orange. I hope the Suns are able to make quick work of the Clippers, and let's hope. I'm hoping for Suns Bucks. I think Suns Bucks is the matchup.
Yeah.
But I still think Suns. I just don't want the Clippers there. I wouldn't mind Suns.
Yeah, go Suns.
So God. Gaudy stats.